Welcome, everybody. Episode 53 of How to Become a Sales Warrior. I'm your host, Eddie Potts, my co-host,
Mark Simson.
And we are here today to teach you about sales, networking. What else are we doing here today?
Today we're doing something different.
Tell us.
So the first time in my lifetime, we're actually celebrating a Knicks championship win.
Yes, we are.
And this run is going to be studied. You're going to see all kinds of business stuff that associates this Knicks run. And we're going to talk through. We're going to kind of relay how you become a sales warrior and how the Knicks became champions. It kind of matches hand in hand.
Love it, love it, love it, love it. Father's Day, thank you to all the dads out there. I have a lot of friends who have a lot of great dads. And, my kids... total thumbs up Sunday. We had a great time. They treated me like royalty. So happy Father's Day to all the fathers.
Happy Father's Day to all the fathers. Happy Father's Day to all the mothers who act like fathers as well.
Yep. So, it's Monday. It's sports moment. I'm wearing mine.
We don't need. We're going to get into a whole.
We're going to get into it.
Really, really amazing.
But the second one was the Ducks. My wife got us box seats for a game yesterday on Father's Day. It wasn't crowded. It was pleasant. We were in the shade.
So with every good, there's a little bit of bad. And the fact that we're talking about the Ducks, going to a Ducks game versus a Mets game is where the other side of the coin is right now. Yeah.
But you know what? It's so much smoother, easier.
And they have a true number one pitcher.
They do. So very
Who's injured, but yeah.
So we're bringing it back to chapter 1, in the beginning. I always like doing that, in the beginning. Think back to when you were a kid. What was your first money-making experience as a kid?
I was a newspaper boy.
Okay. What did it lead to after newspaper?
Well, it's interesting because I'm actually from Haverstraw, which people don't really realize. But so I would sell newspapers right in the middle of the street on the Sunday newspaper. Yeah. And I think it makes you. I think one of the things is it makes you come out of your shell, and you have to talk to people and socialize and not be afraid to be like, paper here, paper here. Yeah.
I watched my brother. I was 4 years younger than him, and he cut lawns, made some money, saw that intuition, and then I started doing it on a little scale. And then when he retired, so to speak, I took over his accounts, and I actually started to build new accounts. But the real highlight for me as a kid, we were on austerity. We had to pay for our sports at the time, and my parents were not paying for me to play baseball. And there were a few other kids in my shoes that couldn't afford it, and they partnered up with a candle company and said, "Okay, here's a beautiful brochure. Go out and sell these candles for $6. You get three, we get three. Everybody would door knocking."
Yep.
And I figured out how many I needed to sell to pay to be on the team, and I did it. I sold that within the first 3 hours I was out there. And then I went back for a third day and a fourth day, and I made $1,500. That split, $750 for them, $750 for me.
Yep. I
didn't make the team. I made the money though, and it was like so eye-opening. So, wow! I'm selling them candles, and I'm making candles sound exciting.
Yeah, but you're door knocking to me. So where now when somebody knocks on my door,
you hide.
So 20 years ago, now I enjoy the pitch.
Let me see what you got.
And 50-50, I'm like, you looking for a job? Because if you door knock, man, right, in sales, 99 doors shut in your face.
All you need is the one.
Right. And in the security space, some of the biggest security companies in the world were built on door knocking.
Yeah. The action statement for the chapter is come up with a solid plan, and then go execute the plan. Anyone on the team could have done what I did. The next closest guy sold 50 candles.
Right.
Sold 250 candles.
Yeah. I got to tell you that the door knocking, the hand-to-hand combat, all this AI leads, I get it, right? But at the end of the day, there's still a certain amount of
human touch,
hand-to-hand combat that's required. And you know what we were doing last night?
What we do?
We're walking around handing out flyers for dog walking services before Sam goes for college. Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
In the mailbox, 10 o'clock at night, old school.
Dog walking.
Old school walk around.
All right, we're jumping into networking because our previous episode was a road episode. We were at a trade show.
Yep.
And we just coincidentally interviewed 9 people that had been on the show. was pretty exciting. It was
I was impressed with the HIE show. Yeah, very, a lot of good stuff there.
It was a lot of fun doing that road show. But the one thing that we did, and you're the one who was always uncomfortable, getting more comfortable, but have fun. And I think we had a lot of fun, and we brought a lot of fun energy to people at the show. People were happy to see us, happy to talk, have a commotion at their booth.
When you walk around with a microphone and a camera, dude, sometimes it just generates commotion when you're not even trying to do anything.
Exactly. All right. Big win of the week. For me, I'm constantly getting emails from different people, and sometimes pay attention to them, because I got an email from a national storage software company. Didn't know what they were. I shot him back an email. Hey, why don't we, jump on a call? And we jump on a call with me and two other gals I'd never met before, and we start talking about the industry. They built software to help companies find storage solutions all over the country.
Okay.
They outsource it.
Yep.
They pay for it. They lease all the boxes, units. They do the whole thing for the client. I never know who the client is. I never meet the client.
Right.
Nothing like that. And it was a real eye-opener, because didn't know it existed. I don't even really know how we connected, or, how we ended up on that Teams call, because I said, let's jump on a Teams call. To me, that face-to-face. Do I like these people? Do we connect? Can't always do that on the phone.
Right.
And it went really well. And it looks like I'm going to be going out to Colorado to meet with a few of their senior VPs and see if we can put a national program together. So that was a big win. What about you?
So I'll tell you. So we're talking about door knocking, right?
Yeah.
So now, as you get a little bit older and you do use some technology, my equivalent of door knocking now is when you go through LinkedIn and you start reaching out to people that you're not connected with, right? Because they have to accept your connection.
Right.
But you start not reaching out to Joe Schmo, but you're reaching out to
specific presidents,
CEOs, CFOs, and you get those responses back. So I was doing what I do, and I don't know if, unfortunately, can't get into all the details, but the fact that you get response, my door opened.
Your door opened.
The door opened.
You knocked, it opened.
Yeah, listen, I got a lot of non-response, but you know what?
I got a lot of those.
That's how it goes, though. And the big key with everything, and we're going to get into this, you got to just deal with no, right? It happens all the time. In sales, no occurs. And you can't, it's like you got to be a relief pitcher. All right, you got blown up the night before.
Come back tomorrow.
There you go.
Do a better job.
There you go. Right.
Excellent. Best business decision of the week. So, I'm a big networker, but I'm not anymore. Very selective on my time. I refocus my energy towards chasing fresher opportunity, rather than letting that fresh opportunity sit for another 4 or 5 days because I wanted to go do all this networking. I'm prioritizing the freshness of the leads, and it's keeping me home more, which isn't a bad thing because it means I'm selling more. But, it's just one of those things where I'm cutting back on networking and redirecting that energy, that time.
Well, I think you also have the role. I mean, you're just known.
Right.
And now that I've kind of gotten involved, it's almost like a circuit here, especially on Long Island. It's like you go to all these different things, you start to see
the same people.
You start to see kind of the work in the circuit a little bit. Yeah.
So what about you? Best business decision?
So let's see how this week goes. So, we've been working on something you're aware of for 2 years now, and we're right at the nitty gritty, major customer making a decision. We've done everything. We've been very price competitive. We've sharpened our pencils. We've
dotted your I's, crossed your T's.
We've worked all types of different relationships. Let's see what happens.
Okay.
And then we'll tell you. But you know what? I'm proud of the fact that it's easy. You come across this too. A lot of times these deals are hard, man. These deals are hard. And in the M&A world, they call it deal fatigue. Sometimes you just you get burned out, right? Yeah. And 2 years is a long time, right? And you know what? You still keep
chugging on,
grinding ahead,
grinding it out.
That's it, man. Go. That's it.
All right. Word of the day for me is grateful. I was grateful that I was able to have such an amazing weekend with lots of family, from Thursday night Madison's birthday to Friday night Lindsay's birthday, my niece, to Saturday night another party for Madison, to Father's Day. Right. And I got to see so many, and the parade on Thursday. So I got to see lots of family, lots of friends, and it was just such a positive weekend, and I'm grateful.
Yeah, no, I was at a bat mitzvah, my buddy's daughter's bat mitzvah, and again, I was with some of my buddies, and we go back. You put 3 or 4 of us together. We're friends 40 some odd years now, and you're like, Jesus. Yeah. And the nice thing, again, the nice thing about most guys, you don't need to talk. You don't need to see each other, but when you put the guys right back in place, it's like years go by and you just pick right back up. So it's an awesome thing, and you realize some of your friends that you go back so long, it's just like a great thing and really enjoyable.
It's funny you say that, because I saw there's a group of guys from where I grew up, and I wasn't in their gang or anything, but we're friends on Facebook, and they just got together Saturday night for a Father's Day, and it was 5 of them,
right.
And it was like, it's nice to see the boys still hanging after 50 years,
yep.
Still being best buds, a little less hair, a little more weight, but they're there, and I'm happy for them that they have each other.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're not taking a break. We're gonna.
Oh, my favorite.
Dune Drifter. This is Twisted Cow Distillery, corner of Pulaski Road and Larkfield Road in East Northport. They're our tequila sponsor.
Former guest, and that man is an artist.
He is an absolute artist with his tequila. So as you know, tequila time is about old and new. I'm always trying to be creative with this. When you were just talking about searching on LinkedIn.
Yep.
I've been very cautious in the past. I don't know why. I just was very cautious sending out a direct message to a VP or this and that. And about a month ago, I decided I wasn't having any success.
Right.
So let's be bold.
Yep.
Let's be bold. Let's try to send out interesting, short, 2-sentence messages.
Try to find a connection.
A connection. I haven't found it.
Yep.
But I'm trying it because the old way is not working. The tentative, soft, be bold.
I can't agree with you more, man. So I would just say this. So in my 20s, if I had to go approach CEO or president, there could be a level of intimidation. I think this is natural, right?
Of course.
Now you're seasoned. You got all kinds of whips across your back. At this point, and we've said this over and over, look, we're all grinding through this, and whatever your position is, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day.
Right.
And at this point now, whether you're CEO of a $100 million company, $1 billion company, $5 million company, at the end of the day, we all are the same.
Right.
Right? We all put our pants on one leg at a time. And so I have no problem, and I don't care anymore. I'll just reach out to whoever it might be. And hey, you want to talk? Great. You don't want to talk? Fine. But there's no reason you can't be in the same room. You don't
feel intimidated.
Exactly. 100%.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Grateful.
Oh, boy.
All right, so we have no guests today. Mark's come up with
I got a whole bunch of different things just to talk. We'll just go right into it.
Yeah, man.
So first off, where were you when the final buzzer went off?
Sitting in my kitchen. My wife was on the couch. Dogs were on the couch, sweating it out the last 7 seconds. I was, and as soon as they ran to the sliders, opened the door and screamed. And I heard two other neighbors outside screaming.
And here's the thing: you'll remember that night. You'll remember who you were with. I was with Shane. I took a picture right away. It was a bad picture, but it was like just her and I watching. And then you think, and you can't help but get reminiscent. Where were you in '94? Maybe you weren't, because to me, this was very reminiscent. I was in college, and every single night we were out watching Rangers, Knicks.
That was when I owned my deli.
Right.
So I was at the bar.
Right. And this was and unfortunately, it's different. Like now, I'm like, okay, I'm enjoying this instead of with my buddies.
Right.
I got my daughter who's like, all right, Dad, I want to watch. I'm like, okay, awesome. So we go through this, and you think about this series, right? And it was kind of Knicks fans as a whole are negative, right?
Yep, because we've had 53 years of negativity.
Well, and if you look at the last, before Brunson came, you look at really the last
10 years.
Right. Now, if you look at this last run, if you think about this, and let's just kind of relate it to various businesses, or various business situations, career situations, really kind of interesting. Let's think about it. You're a company that's struggling, right? And you go and hire
a great CEO.
We hire Brunson, right? And again, at the time, think about Brunson. you're getting paid too much, you're unathletic, you're this, you're this.
6'2".
They play all the clips. The Knicks did all this. They clear all this cap space for this guy. And then you think about yourself, myself, all the negativity, right? Because I thrive on it. When I first started my career, I came out of Albany, started at Price Waterhouse, and I'm working with people that are, from Georgetown, from Ivy League, and there's just some schmo, just a schmo who's trying to get by with everybody else. But you bring Brunson in, totally. I mean, the way the man carries himself, there's so many lessons. You see what he did right when the buzzer ended. Everybody's going wild. What did Brunson do? He walks right over in a class act and congratulates the coach. Wemby, what's he do? Runs right off. Right?
Ran off
and
like
so,
a big baby.
When you see, and one of the things that's kind of interesting, we talk about experience, right? The Knick team, think about the last couple of years, right? The loss to Indiana. How excited they were when they beat Boston. All the experiences they've had. It was a couple years ago when everybody got hurt. They tried to get their way through. Brunson broke his hand, whatnot. San Antonio was young, right? And now think about this from a career perspective. Think when we're in our 20s, we're San Antonio. Truly.
Yeah.
Right? Think about the emotions. How would you control your emotions as a 20-year-old versus a 50-year-old? And if you look at San Antonio, the way they carried themselves, the way they melted down, right? The way Wemby, Wemby's a 22-year-old kid with the whole world watching. Or he's 22, right?
22.
Right? I would be would I do anything that?
It'd be a shit show.
Right. So when you're breaking this guy's chops, listen, yeah, there were some dirty plays and whatnot, but I'm thinking about when I'm 22, what would I be doing? Could I even handle?
I have no problem with any of his behavior on the court, swinging, pushing, none of it. I have no problem walking off and not shaking hands. Where is your sportsmanship?
100%.
Where is your team spirit?
I get it now.
What are you showing your players? That if I don't win, I get to pout and storm off? That's what you're showing your teammates? That's your leader?
Well, there you go.
There's your leader.
Go. So think about it. Now in your career, right? So Wemby's your leader, right? Now just go back, and I can do this pretty easily here. But if you go back, how many times have you been in a situation where you have the appointed leader and you realize, wait a sec.
Really? This guy?
Right. And
this
now
guy?
a couple things. Now listen, sometimes that guy can become the guy with experience, and sometimes that guy will never be the guy, right? And when we talk about leadership, like look at Brunson. Truly the captain.
It's his nickname, Cap.
Right? Oh my goodness! I mean, and not only that, the way if you look at what the NBA should be, he should be the face of the NBA.
Right. Didn't even come in the top 5 of MVP.
Yeah, and
because they only won 53 games. That's why.
And people forget he took less money to build the team.
He gave up $100 million to stay.
Now he's going to recoup that.
He'll get it in
10
no
times
time.
over.
Smart guy.
Right. So I think what you're going to see from businesses, they're going to really study this. Now let's think about this. Game 4?
When they went down 29?
Game? 29 points.
And Ginobili didn't tap in?
And if you saw the interview, the normal thing, it
had a 99.9% chance of winning that game.
They did, yeah.
Yes.
And the Knicks losing.
When they were up at 29.
So what's the normal reaction when you're down by 29 points?
Throw in the towel, start preparing for the next game.
What's the normal reaction? You're a sales guy. You're working at a business. You're no shot.
Right back out there tomorrow.
You're no shot close to your quota, right? Or the business is failing, or you can give up.
Giving up's not an option.
Well, there you go.
Giving up's not an option.
And what even Brunson said, you could basically, it crosses your mind, but you just got to go control. You got to control.
Sports figures. I played sports, volleyball, basketball, baseball, softball, football. I played all sports.
Yep.
I never walked onto a game, and during the duration of the game, did I ever believe we were going to lose. If we were down, I believed we'd come back. If we were ahead, I believed we'd stay the course. I would always believe we were going to win.
And that's a tremendous attitude. And think how that carries over into business.
100%. Never give up.
Right?
Never
because,
give up.
And you think about it, and I'll just say, when you've got I always thought experience was kind of overrated, right? I didn't know. Now as an experience,
you didn't have the experience.
As an experienced guy, you look back, and you'd say, look, I'll tell you this: if San Antonio was 2 years older, they probably win that series.
Of course.
They probably have the composure, but they're going to be because of this loss, they're going to be super dangerous going forward.
Those 4 games that they lost, they were winning 78% of the game.
But now think about it from our side, right? Inexperience. What would inexperience cause? And this is where we get into like the podcast and the younger generation. One of the biggest things that the Knicks did through experience is control your emotions. And we've talked about this, right? How easy as a young person
lose your shit and do something stupid.
You're down by 29. Right?
Do a flagrant foul, push a guy to the ground.
Or your boss says something you don't like. You're put in a different position. You're assigned something different, down by 29. Your natural reaction, inexperienced reaction, could be a bad reaction.
Very negative.
Right? And one of the things, and I preach this, and I look back now, and I say, okay, having the ability to really control your emotions as a younger person,
it's a gift to have it. I mean, Brunson's only 26.
He's 20. I think he's 29. I thought, but either way, I mean, you look at where he's been, But if you relate that Knick run to running a business, right? You're down by 29. It's over. You're running a business.
You didn't hit it in the first quarter. You didn't hit it in the second quarter.
I don't have funding. I'm not sure I'm going to cover
payroll.
I'm not sure I'm going to cover payroll. I can't generate the sales. You hear so many of these stories, right? And you get down to where it's like, oh man, I leveraged my house, I leveraged my credit cards and whatnot. And I'm not saying that, because look, there's plenty of, there's the happy stories.
And there are plenty of those who fail.
That's right. But having, I feel like it's almost like you have to go through the adversity. Like the Knicks had to go through the adversity the last 3 years, or was it 4 years, right? They had the Trae Young playoff series. Right, then the year they flopped.
And then the Halliburton series.
And then last year where Indiana just ran them out of the gym and they made changes. And you had to go through that adversity. And I felt like that adversity makes it so much sweeter when you move forward from there.
So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Because I'm a stat guy and I love stats and I follow it. Brunson won 2 state basketball titles at his high school.
Yep.
Won 2 national titles. Won U17, U18, and U19 gold medal games.
Amazing.
And his UA, triple whatever team won a championship. Wembanyama has never won a championship in any league that he's played in, any team that he's played for, any school that he was associated with. It's not saying he's a bad player.
Yeah, just natural gifts.
You see this one 6'2" guy and the 7'4" guy, and this guy has all the hardware. Hard work. He's working harder. It's not about talent at that point.
Yeah, no, I think Wembanyama's God-given.
Right.
Rare that you see a 7'5" guy that can dribble like a point guard.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So, interesting stuff on what's going on. So, I want to go through this if that's okay with you.
Go.
Couple things. When we go back to Jalen, right? Now, here's the thing. He was a backup point guard, right? In Dallas, right? And so you think about it. He never really had his opportunity. And so let's relate this to career situations. How many times do you get frustrated where you don't feel you're given the opportunity? And if I'm, again, we're just kind of shooting the shit here, but can you ever think of something where you're like, wait a sec, why wasn't I given that opportunity? Or how do you create that opportunity?
So from the industry I was in printing, the only way to make money was to move.
Right.
So you worked here for a year, got as much experience, and then you went somewhere else for another $1. You worked there for another year, took as much experience, maybe 2 years. Then the next place you asked for $2. The only way to do it was to go take it.
Right.
To go out there and seek it, be willing to leave where you are, even if you were comfortable, but you felt you needed a better opportunity. And I've been doing that my whole life.
Right. Right. And you said something too. If you stay comfortable, sometimes the opportunity doesn't come.
Never presents itself.
Let me ask, as you go through this, can you think of one of your most uncomfortable situations you were in?
Yeah. I had the World at the Balls a company that was giving me leadership opportunity. I was crushing it inside the shop, but I was doing side hustle outside the shop, and I got myself in trouble, and I had to be fired.
How'd you feel? Like what?
Like the biggest piece of shit in the world, because these people were the first ones to really give me that opportunity. The first time I ever got a bonus, $1,000 Christmas bonus.
And so you got fired.
I got fired.
And how did you take it? How'd you bounce back?
I had to make a decision right then and there. Either you're going to be on the right side of things or the wrong side of things. I never went through that again. I never experienced that shame, that sadness. And the funny thing is, I still every couple of years I'd stop in and say hello to the guys.
Right.
It wasn't hard feelings. It was the kid made a mistake, but they couldn't live with it.
Yeah,
I wasn't a bad person. I did a bad thing.
Yep.
And to be able to go back there was warm.
That's a big deal. No, that's a big deal.
You admit your mistakes. You moved on. It's 20 years later, and you still bump into the guy in the store once in a while. You're like, hey, how's it going? So
right. I know I harbor on all the bad because that's how it goes. But that's what drives me a little bit. So I'll give you one. So when I worked at Triax, which was when Sarachek was in here, right? If you remember Joe with the great guest, super intelligent, big influential guy in my career. Yeah, a lot of reading, yeah. So anyway, I was kind of the guy that got put into companies. And I get dumped in, usually we were selling kind of restructuring services to private equity. And I'll keep the names simple, but it's kind of interesting because I'd be in New York and the next thing you know, you're going to be in Florida for 6 months. It's a tough gig, but you can do it when you're younger, right? So I got put in this company and it was a restructuring deal. And we sold kind of a fractional CFO services to the board of directors. Private equity groups are all excited. I'm going to go in. Now, in fairness, I was probably a little young, but, I basically was going in with assigned task and whatnot. So the job is in Florida, in Delray, which is kind of, okay, cool. I'm going to be in Delray, staying in Boca, exciting. So I show up, and there was one thing that forgot to happen before I showed up. The board never told the company I was coming.
Wow.
So you go there, and they were, they're out of business now. They were selling like online motorcycles at the time, right? And so it was distressed business. So I go in there. Now I'm not a motorcycle guy, I'm a little bit young, and I'm the type that wants to get stuff done. These people hated me, and it like literally referred to me as a bull in the china shop. Which, in fairness, it might have been true. And it was the worst experience, man. I remember flying to West Palm Beach and I was sick all week. Every time I had to go there, I was sick. And it was one of those things. And I'll tell you what, one of the things that really helped Sarachek was like, all right, dude, it happens. And as a leader, because he was running the business, right? As a leader, he's like, all right, dude, it happens. And would make jokes, Meanwhile, you
were internalizing all
oh my goodness, I'm dying with it. But I remember this to the T. I've even saved the email where the guy wrote a whole big thing about stuff. But again, you go back and you say, experience. Okay, you know what? You put me in there today, it's like a piece of cake. When we talk about opportunities too, I've been very frustrated because there's times I felt like, why? I'll always support, in the CFO role, you're always going to support your C-suite per se. But sometimes it's very hard because they put people in there that sometimes like, how the hell are you in here? And you have to deal with that. Yeah. Fair?
Fair.
All right, man, as we work through this. So what were you saying? You kind of got me spun on what you just said too. It's interesting about getting laid off. Fired, yeah. So
I don't sugarcoat it. You know me.
I was fired, I guess. We'll call it, I was fired in 2009. It was right when I had Samantha. It was like literally a month or two after I had Samantha. And usually in my world, it's a little bit tricky. I don't know if I was fired or asked to leave, but we were raising money, right? And CEO would spend money quicker than I could raise money. We'd butt heads. And, when you basically have to make a lot of decisions, you can always be accused of you made the wrong decision or whatnot. And again, basically I left. Everything was cut off from me. Couldn't come back. Another terrible situation. Here's the thing. I was angry for 5 years. That guy is now one of my friends.
Okay.
You know, and you put that behind you, and I still do work with him.
For the better of the business.
Well, for the better of life, man.
Yeah. There's
sometimes
walking around holding grudges. It just reminds me of my family.
Right.
And I'm not trying to be boo-hoo, but it's all grudge holding.
Well, I think one of the things I really like about, you know, with your background and your experience, your positivity, right? Because again, when the way we go back, and I'll say it, that day in soccer inside, blah, 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 when it was a really tough time and you were my friend, you know, one of the things I really respect is there's things where you could have gotten angry, even when we deal with various situations, and you're always kind of positive. And I'm like, dude, this guy's a role model, man.
I try. I actually do try.
And listen, I appreciate it. And one of the things that I'm and one of the things I really like about this podcast is when we meet people, I'm so interested in the journey.
Right. It's not so much what are you doing right now, but how'd you get there?
Right.
You know, what was a turning point in your life that got you to where you are now?
What was your big, you think, leap off that kind of had you elevate a little bit? What was the opportunity that someone gave you?
No opportunity. It was when I decided to leave the printing industry and become an entrepreneur. I decided my 13-year career in printing was over. I wanted to own a deli. And I was set to go out and buy a deli, which I did. Knew nothing about the business. There's a great chapter about it. If you first don't succeed, go get educated before you try again.
Right.
And
it's interesting. You bought the deli, right? You raised the money, you bought the deli.
9 months I was over.
Right. If you remember, we had John from Sexy Salad in here. He was working in the industry before he bought. Right. Which is an interesting thing. Because we look at now, like honestly, we talk about, if you go on social media, everyone talks about buying a passive business, which I don't,
passive income.
I'm not smart enough to do it. I wish I knew. I looked at buying a dry cleaner. What do I know about dry cleaning? I looked at buying a laundromat. I don't even know how to fix a machine. Yeah. But that's saying, car wash is $1.5 million or so. I don't know. I'm open to any of these suggestions.
I still want to open Eddie's Grill in Comac. Here's the pitch.
Go ahead.
Okay, we build a building. It's right next to Ralph's on Larkfield on Comac Road, across from the CVS.
Okay, so high volume traffic. Yep.
High volume traffic. 2-story building. Top story is raised a little higher. It's an event space. We use it to lure people in for food.
Yep.
Okay, we use it as an event space for the Little League meetings, board meetings, local meetings, networking meetings, all the while serving Eddie's Great Grill, my grill food. 800,000 gets us going, I think.
I'm with you. Okay, and I just threw this out, and I was working on this. This was a project, but I do feel like because of the situation, Comac, Smithtown, St. James, Northport areas, there does seem to be almost like the need for like a WeWork, or almost kind of like an open, like a Starbucks on steroids. Right? So how many people now, you're doing all this networking, how many people are showing up at Starbucks? Kids are studying in Starbucks. Right. But if you had almost kind of like that custom,
where you can get some really awesome fries and a knish, come on.
Or custom call, you have like
a barista.
Right, something like that.
Definitely, you gotta have a barista.
But you have the big open space on a Jericho Turnpike or on a
only because there's a space there, and it'd be less than it would cost to be on Jericho.
Right. Yeah, but locations is key. But you have that, and I was looking at mixing in pet care as well. Meaning, like, you want to go network, you can bring your dog.
100%. My daughter would be totally interested in being involved in that if we could build a space, an outdoor space, in the back.
So it's $1.5 million to $2 million. We got the business model ready to go. If anybody
wants to finance, we open Eddie and Mark's Grill, and it will be the networking place to go. Because, listen, I go Tuesday morning. We spend $500 every Tuesday morning for a 25-person breakfast.
Yep.
What if we could get your company to come in, slash it in half, give a quarter to charity, quarter back to your people?
Well, let me throw this out to you. So, and I know we're veering, but hey, this is how it is. So if you look at the way the world is now, how many people are remote or hybrid, right? And now you're going to see this is going to come out too. There's that now all types of mental challenges with, and emotional issues and whatnot with lack of socialization. But you almost have people that need to get out of their house, not sit at a Starbucks. Can you go somewhere where it feels somewhat like an office environment,
right,
and whatnot? So I think you're going to see those type of things start to pop up. You're starting to see kind of like almost more in this area, like the over 55, because it's like a segment. And now I think you're going to start to see kind of almost that catering towards the remote business workers.
When I went to visit John at the Twisted Cow, we had some friends. We all went over there. He had a sewing class there. It wasn't a class. It was a bunch of ladies having drinks, sewing.
Yep.
He had 5 or 6 of these little, just to bring people into the place to feel.
Yeah, it's interesting because as we get more AI driven, as we get more technology driven, and you're seeing it with the kids now, there's a lack of social skills. And what's going to happen now is you're seeing like there's like kind of like a push and pull. You feel a little bit in the world where there's almost like some people are like, hey, you know what? I want to get back face to face. Like you see some of the big companies like, okay, no more remote. You got to be in the office.
Yeah.
But you're also seeing now kids who all they know is how to play Roblox and talk on a headphone and not actually have a conversation or shake somebody's hand, look you in the eye and whatnot. So it's kind of going to be interesting. And you do see there's some people, I'm home. There's no stop and start when you work from home, for the most part, right? And sometimes you just need to get out and you need like some sort of human interaction.
Yep.
And that you could see a model for that. So that'll be our where we're heading.
See if we get some money.
Right.
What else we got here on this new agenda?
So a couple other things. Going back to mental toughness. I can't say enough good things about this whole Nick team. And
unselfish, classy, bonded,
teamwork,
understood the job at hand.
Now, how's all that? Now, how does that think about everything you just mentioned, right? Think about that in a business. Think about you as a salesperson, right? Teamwork. If you don't have your operations and finance supporting you, what happens?
Collapse.
Right? If you don't have proper leadership, what happens?
You don't play up to your potential.
Right. And if you basically throw in the towel when you're down by 29 points because a customer is taking a long time to make a sales decision, what happens?
You lose a sale.
There you go.
They were unselfish, not to a fault. Where sometimes you say that about a team, they were just too unselfish. Sometimes you got to be. They were unselfish, the perfect amount. And my moment for that game was Mitchell Robinson's rebound. When that tree of a man,
right, grabbed
that rebound and kicked it out. And it was 7.7 seconds. And I just got this little smile on my face. We're going to fucking win.
Well, here's another interesting thing. Just relate this. So, again, going back to a company. You had Tom Thibodeau as the CEO, right? And a lot of times in businesses, when you start a business, sometimes that CEO
wears out his welcome,
but it only can get you to a certain level.
Correct.
And it's a tricky thing because
Walter.
Well, but think about any of these companies. A lot of founders, but there's a difference between getting to 5 million and 20 million.
Yeah.
There's a difference from going from 20 million
to 100
million.
Yeah.
And sometimes you might have the CEO that's perfect for 20 million. He might be the founder, right? Like you think about it, Tom was the reason, he was laid the foundation for success.
He did.
Right?
I don't think he was unjustly fired.
I understand.
I don't think he was.
For certain. But again.
I didn't then either because I knew what kind of coach he was.
But think how that relates, again, in the real world. That translates over. Here he was, call it founder of the business. Blood, sweat, and tears, built something, had your first level of success under him, right? But then you got capped out, right? You got capped out and you got let go. And you see that type of situation in the real world all the time. And he say he's still bitter and whatnot. He can't be that bitter. He got paid $30 million.
Yeah.
But either way, but I think when you look at where this Nick team is going to be studied, and you're going to see all these business classes, you're going to see all the lessons that Leon Rose did, all the transactions, all the moves. It's the same thing with running a business. Yeah, I think they said it was 165 different moves he made. And
I have to, because of all this talk, you haven't mentioned Mike Brown once. So
that's the point.
Here's my Mike Brown moment at the parade. He jumps off the float. He's like, two guys in front of me came over and shook hands with the guys. But it wasn't that. It was that the brother came in and he knew he had to connect with Jalen. His dad's on the team, the coach. They all know each other. There's kumbaya there. That's your number one guy. And you got kumbaya with your number one guy, your number one assistant coach. You got Cat, who's going to buy in because he's an unselfish player. Right. You got OG, who was healthy most of the year and is just an athletic freak.
Right, but it's this, again, think about this in the real world. Same thing. A CEO comes in, right? He's got to come into the company. He's got to create those relationships. Who do you want? You got to make sure you're good with your CTO, right? Yeah. Is the CTO the right spot? My head of sales, right? Because at the end of the day, no matter what, if you're
Mike's head of sales.
Right, the head of sales, right? But Mike came in, and just like we said, Tom got us to a certain level. We made the move. The board of directors, Leon Rose, made the move. You put in Mike Brown, new CEO, right? New direction, new voice, new energy.
It was a fucking championship.
And there you go. But in the real world, winning the championship, you went from a $20 million company to a $50 million company or a $100 million company. It's the same thing. And that's why I keep saying, well, if you really tear down this Nick run, you're going to see like there's so many things that relate to running a day-to-day business. And again, look, this is my world a little bit, so it falls into this. So Ed, I appreciate taking this. The one thing that we've never done, we always ask our guests 2 questions. And I was thinking about this, and I don't even, I'd be curious, but if we were to say, hey, if I was turn the tables a little bit.
Turn the tables on.
Say, here we are, 2026. You were young, older, experienced men, per se. Where do you see yourself in 5 years now?
I'm hoping for 2 things. I'm hoping to be in South Carolina on the water, whether it be in a 55 and older, because I'm done with houses. I don't want to take care of another house the rest of my life. I want a gym, I want the water, I want the pool, and I don't want to do any of it. So I see myself finding a 55 and over there. I'm hoping that this podcast is my money generator. And, it's reality. It costs us money to do the show. But I would love for this to be my swan song. This is what I do.
It's of everybody. Nobody. It's always been. It's interesting because your perspective is a lot different. A lot of our guests are like, "Oh, I want my business to be here in 5 years." Or
right. I'm old.
Well, I don't. Yeah. What is old now? Yeah. Right.
Well, what about you? Where are you in 5?
You know what? I got to be honest with you. It's a very hard question. I had the luxury of thinking about this.
Yeah, you knew.
I did. And I would say I don't know. But this is what I hope. So the 2 things. One is I really, when you get to a certain age, all the crap you don't like.
Yep.
Right? It's easy. It's
easy to stay away from it.
Right. But what I do like, because it's hard to say what do I really like.
What do you really like?
Not a foodie. I don't really have a lot of toys or any of that stuff. I like being around my friends. And so what I hope, kind of in the last half of the life, is that however I structure things, that I'm involved with people I like. I joke around with a lot of the companies I'm involved in. I say we have a no asshole rule.
We don't like assholes working for this company.
We like to be in a positive environment, and I think if anything, I'd like to double or triple down that. And it's hard because it's hard, but I would like to basically create a very positive environment. Whether it's in Long Island or not, who knows at this point in time. South Carolina makes a lot of sense.
It does.
Makes a lot of sense, and not having a house at some point makes a lot of sense. So I'd say I'd hope that SEM is still around, because that means we'll be 10 plus years, and that'll have been a tremendous run. And then I hope that I'm doing stuff that we're just accelerating and being involved with all our friends.
All right, so you get the last question. The last question is, if you could have dinner with anyone, dead or alive?
Easy, my dad.
Your dad?
Yeah. Easy. Yeah.
All right.
Yourself?
I've already said it was Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I would say when I was younger, I would have said 3 people I wanted to meet. Howard Stern, The Rock, Vince McMahon. Now I'd say I just take my dad.
There you go.
There you go.
Well, it's been a pleasure, everybody. Episode 53. We are out. We will see you soon.
Thank you.